Let the record reflect we have reconvened with all members present. As we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll ask you to remain standing after we finish the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Just want to moment of silence. On March 10th, former Fire Chief Tom Kiernan died. He was 81 years old, lifelong Madison resident, served our country in the Korean War. And in 1961, upon his discharge from the Marines, he joined the fire department as a volunteer. Tom was then hired as a firefighter in June of 1963, promoted to lieutenant in 1986, and then promoted to chief of the fire department in 1989. And as chief, Tom Kiernan oversaw 6 different fire departments on the fire at Drew University at Meade Hall that helped save that beautiful building. So please, a few moments of silence in honor and memory of Chief Kiernan. Thank you. Right. We have no minutes for approval, so on to greetings and welcome. We have a nice big crowd, but one very special person, Louise Patterson, welcome back. We missed you. It's great to have you back here. As I'm sure previous mayors use to smile, you know, things are good, so that's great to have you back. A few other items. On April 11th, from 9 to 11, we're going to have our first annual Latino Community Town Hall meeting. We have asked our Madison residents who have immigrated here in the last 10, 20 years and now part of our community to join us to get information on the services that Madison offers and also find out what Madison can do to help them become more part of our community. So that is from 9 to 11 on April 11th. And I've been mentioning this last couple of times, and last chance is this Thursday, our second annual Bowling for Union Beach, 5:30, I don't know, 5 to 9, thank you. And we still have lanes available, or you can just sign up as an individual. All the proceeds going towards helping send Union Beach children to summer camp. And some announcements related to the library. The library continues to offer a variety of programs for all ages. This Wednesday at 2 p.m., a presentation on online sites to store and share your photos will be featured. The presentation will discuss various online photo sites, their options, such as privacy and permissions, downloading, printing, sharing, etc. And on Friday at 2 p.m., a workshop on Japanese notan, a Japanese cut paper craft will be featured. And a busy schedule in the children's room continues with a regular series of story times and other special programs. You can get the information on the website. And on April 1st, they'll kick off the Madison April Scavenger Hunt, which will be an opportunity to take a journey of discovery to the farthest reaches of Madison, which is pretty far. Perhaps even beyond our borders, though. Your family will visit different sites of natural, cultural, and historic importance located right here in your backyard that you probably never knew about. The hunt is co-sponsored with the Great Swamp Watershed Association. Come down below for some presentations. Jamie Conroy, there we go, my neighbor.
proclamation for Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism is a pervasive development disorder affecting the social, communication, and behavioral skills of those affected by it, and shall become proficient in diagnosing autism, more children being diagnosed on the autism spectrum, resulting in rates as high as 1 in 68 children nationally and 1 in 45 in New Jersey. And whereas while there is no cure for autism, it is well documented that if individuals with autism receive treatment early in their lives, it is often possible for those individuals to lead significantly improved lives. And whereas individuals with autism often require a lifetime of specialized and community support services to ensure their health and safety, and to support the family's resilience as they manage the psychological and financial burdens that autism presents. And whereas Autism New Jersey is spearheading an awareness effort to educate parents, professionals, and the general public about autism and its effects. Whereas to promote autism awareness in the Borough of Madison, and the Light It Up Blue campaign will decorate Waverly Place in blue lights, and tons of toys will host puzzle piece campaign throughout the month of April. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Conley, Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby proclaim April 2015 as National Autism Awareness Month and urge all residents to become better educated on this subject of autism spectrum disorders. Thank you for coming out. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you very much. I know most of you are here for something else, but thank you to the Borough Council and to Mayor Conley for this. This is the second year that we've done this, and every year the effect that my story has on other people and the reception that my family receives from this community grows stronger and stronger. And my son is one of the 45 in New Jersey. He just turned 10 yesterday, and he's an amazing kid at Torrey J, and we thank the staff at Torrey J for being fantastic with him and his friends at Torrey J and all throughout Madison, and just keep raising awareness and look out for some of our events. We have for the parents, not for the kids. We have a comedy night in the fall, which is a big hit, so we'd love to see more of you there, and just look out for other efforts that you see going around Madison for autism. Thank you.
And we actually have two proclamations for Norwest Cap. So come on up. We have Tanya and Luke, come on and join us. As we know in Madison, before I start reading this, that we have a housing program, affordable housing program that we can all be proud of. You never know what life will throw at you, that you may end up in affordable housing project. But what is one of the great things is the tools we can be given in order to move up in life and maybe even at some point buy our own homes. And Norris Cap is a key part of that puzzle in educating the people in our housing throughout not only Madison but throughout the state. So let me just speak a little bit about what they do. Whereas since 1965, Northwest NJ Community Action Partnership Corp, known as Norwest Cap, has been providing invaluable and outstanding service to the citizens. And whereas the quality of and character of life in the communities across northwestern New Jersey are reflective of the concerned and dedicated efforts of this organization and individuals who are devoted to the welfare of the community and its citizenry. And whereas Norwest Cap is one of the 23 community action agencies in the state of New Jersey and one of over 1,000 nationwide, founded on the common purpose to support low-income households as they develop their abilities to be self-supporting and develop family and community relationships that will sustain self-reliance. And whereas community action was born out of the Equal Opportunity Act of 1964 that was initiated by President John F. Kennedy and brought to fruition by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Through these efforts, Norwest Cap was created. And whereas a half a century later, Norwest Cap operates 15 programs and has grown to 270 full-time and part-time employees with more than 30,000 individuals served each year through a multitude of anti-poverty services. And whereas Norwest Cap is a community leader whose positive action changes people's lives, embodies the spirit of hope, improves communities, and makes New Jersey a better place in which to live. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Conley, the Mayor of the Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby commend Northwest NJ Community Action Partnership, Norwest Cap, upon the occasion of celebrating the 50th anniversary of community action. I'm just going to talk a little, very quick, I won't read this whole thing, but Norris Cap is also aligned with National Service Recognition Day, and which is really to go out and volunteer and serve the community. So on April 7th is National Service Recognition Day, and I encourage all residents to recognize the positive impact of serving the community and thank all those who serve and give back to our communities wherever we may live. More important, would you like to say a few words?
Hi, I just wanted to let you know that Northwest Cap Family Self-Sufficiency has been providing services for low-income housing residents that live within the Madison Housing Authority, services to help gain employability and to also increase their financial literacy. We've had many graduates throughout our time with the Madison Housing Authority, and many of those graduates have gone on to receive their citizenship. They've received their GEDs. They've gotten higher education through getting their associate's, bachelor's, or master's degrees. Many of them have gone on to home ownership, which is fantastic. They've increased their FICO scores. They've gotten out of debt, and they are becoming very successful in the community. So we appreciate, having the opportunity to work with them and help them realize all their potential, which is great. And we look forward to continuing to provide those services for those people in the community.
I just wanted to say a few words about Norwest Cap. We've been working with Norwest Cap at the Housing Authority for over 20 years. We were the first family self-sufficiency program in the state, funded by the state in a demonstration program in the early 1990s. Norwest Cap has done a marvelous job, and as Jessica said, many of our residents have moved up and out of public housing and into the private sector, which is basically the hope and desire of the Housing Authority to get people up and out. And without Norwest Cap's assistance, that would have been an impossibility. We just hope to work with them again in the future and thank them for their 50 years of service.
Thank you so much. I think we have a great hockey team in this room right here. Please come on up. Come on up. Ooh, look at.
Lou, unless you want to get stuck,
Keep kind of following up so we can get you on camera. Need a bigger room. Bigger room. Yep. For sure. Spread out a little bit so we can capture you all on camera. I'm just kidding. All right, maybe I'll step in here for a second and please don't throw any checks right now. I had already promised at our last meeting I wouldn't try to do an Al Michaels and do you believe in miracles? Because reality is, it is not miracles that create a great ice hockey team, but it is hard practice, dedication, and teamwork that brings results. And so on behalf of the Borough Council, we have a certificate of achievement for each of you, because when you win and have the success Madison feels as a whole, we are truly proud of your achievements this year. So I'm going to officially have to read each one of these But no, I'm going to just read one of them and we'll go from. Of achievement. The mayor and council hereby congratulate the members of the Madison High School boys ice hockey team for achievement in winning the 2014 Essex County Winter Holiday Hockey Tournament and the 2015 Haas Cup for the first time in Madison High School history. These accomplishments required extraordinary effort, outstanding teamwork, dedication, and perseverance. We commend the team members for their commitment in reaching these goals, and we recognize coaches Dave Hansen and Joe Sakala for their leadership in training and coaching. The dedication and achievement of these outstanding athletes have brought great pride to the Borough of Madison, and testimony of our appreciation I have hereon to set the official seal of the Borough of Madison. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you for the recognition tonight. It means a lot to the hockey team, hockey program. We had our banquet the other night, so I spoke there. But I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. And again, thank you for the recognition that you gave the hockey team. I really appreciate it. And thank you.
Ryan Bagley. Ryan, congratulations. Bagley. Oh, that was bad. Ryan Carson. Yeah. Charlie Cleves. Jack DeBoer. Jared Finnerty. Right. Max Gagliardi. Michael Gleason. Joey Goret. Gus Howland Potus. Thomas Hoover. Sean Hurley. Harrison Meyer. Kyle Midledge. Jake Natolo. Jimmy Pychik. Chris Rossi. Chris Rosica. Will Scavone. Javi Sinha. Jack Tinder. Aaron Wilsey. Hopefully everyone has one, unless there are a couple are stuck together. And I also want to recognize the team manager, Grace Nantola. Grace, are you here? Great, well done, Grace. And Emily Churzik for the stats. Great stats. And Alyssa DiBiase also for stats. So thank you for your extra work. And again, thank you all. And everyone that supported them at all the games and cheered them on, because without good fan support, they can't be successful, right? Great job, everyone. You made us proud. And as always, you are welcome to stay. But we do ask if you're going out. It'll be as exciting as a hockey game. The voice echoes through the building. So, parents, thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They transformed that big room.
Yeah.
Like a nightclub.
Really?
Beautiful. That's good.
Unfortunately, there's not more autism. Okay, reports from committees, Community Affairs, Austri Bele.
Thank you, Mayor. The Senior Citizen Advisory Team came in third at the YMCA scavenger hunt on Saturday, March 21st. This team was led by Councilwoman Carmela Vitale. Her team members were Ann Lawless, Helene Corlett, and Edna Irely Byrne.
And there were more than 3 teams for the record. A
Yeah,
lot
there
more.
were-
There were a lot more.
than 3 teams. And then also from the Senior Center, Monica Hansen, registered dietitian from Chatham ShopRite, continues to draw a lot of interest in her monthly nutrition classes at the Senior Center. The March 19th class was beans, blending, buying, and bingo, had 18 in attendance. Monica reviews the nutritional aspect of various dishes, prepares the recipe, and the audience samples the results. On Tuesday, March 31st, a full bus will be traveling to the Bethwood in Totowa to see and participate in Ira and Isabella's Jewish-Italian comedy wedding. Among other items on the menu are matzo ball soup, Italian salad, and the guests will be dancing both the tarantella and the hora. Then from the Chamber of Commerce, they are hosting the Easter Fun Fest, March 28th, downtown, from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. There'll be an Easter bunny, there'll be Easter eggs, and prizes. From the Taste of Madison, sponsored by the Rotary, the DDC, and Chamber of Commerce, is next Monday, March 30th. Tickets are available at www.tasteofmadison.org, or you can go visit Gary's Wine and Marketplace. VIP tickets, $100. General admission, $65. For the VIP, doors will open at 6 p.m., general admission at 7 p.m. It's a great way to have your dinner because you get to taste all the restaurants in Madison. And then the Chamber of Commerce on Saturday, April 25th, will be hosting its first home expo from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Madison Community House. This is one-stop shopping for all your home improvement needs. Local professionals will be on hand to answer your questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Safety, Mr. Cananello.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry for my voice. The American Red Cross launched a nationwide campaign in January of this year aimed at reducing the number of injuries and fatalities in home fires. They're providing and installing smoke alarms to high-risk communities throughout the nation. Here in New Jersey, they've identified the top 10 communities that had the largest loss of life and reported injuries. Although Madison is not on this list, the fire department thought it would be beneficial to reach out to the Red Cross and see if a partnership could be formed. For the past 15 years or so, our fire department has been installing these detectors and replacing batteries in them each year for our senior population and for those who cannot install these devices on their own. Annually, the fire department installs detectors in approximately 50 households and replaces batteries in these devices in over 150 homes in our community. The fire department project is being coordinated through Captain Ed Nunn, and the Red Cross will supply the fire department with smoke detectors that have a 10-year life. As the fire department receives calls to change batteries, they'll now be able to install these brand new detectors and not have to worry about changing the batteries for at least 10 years. The Red Cross will also be providing literature on home fire escape planning and a fire safety checklist, which the fire department will hand out during the installation. The program is fully funded by the Red Cross. The fire department is looking to do a relaunch of their install program in early April once the materials are in hand. They intend to contact our local media outlets as well. As important as this is, it's really brought home by the tragedy in Brooklyn over the weekend.
Yep.
So we encourage everyone to please install smoke detectors, replace the batteries, and if you need any help, to please get in touch with the fire department to see if you qualify for this program. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Rob. Utilities, Ms. Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. Report from the electric department. They were pretty busy in the last couple of weeks. They installed wildlife protection on Pomeroy Road and Sampson Avenue, which really helps us a lot because those little squirrels have a way of cutting off our systems very easily. They did a cutout box replacement on Ridgedale Avenue and on Woodland Road. They did pole and cable repairs on Rosedale Avenue, Central Avenue, and Knollwood Drive. Had to repair a speed limit sign on Rosedale Avenue, and began installation of new secondary cable on Barnesdale. They installed a new underground secondary cable on the upper section of Cross Gates Road. Did a lot of line clearance in various locations, especially if it's something that is going to create a problem in a home. They did service upgrades and removals and mark-out requests, which are pretty normal. And the Water Department also has a lot of mark-out utilities for homeowners, contractors. So generally, when something is going on, both the electric and the Water Department go out. They have ongoing monthly analysis that are done, one of which is the water sample analysis. And they're awaiting a radio telemetry for Madison Avenue, and they have to set that up because that's confined space. So it's a little bit different, and they have to be very careful with that. The treatment plant needed, there was a heater malfunction, and that had to be replaced. There was a problem at well A treatment. Sequencing is not functioning, so they had to do that. D-well treatment level was replaced, and changed belts on number 2 air handler at well A treatment plant again. And they had to install ventilation at the Madison Avenue tank, which is in the pit. That's it.
Thank you. Finance Borough Clerk, Mr. Landrigan.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have 2 items. First, 853 residents will be receiving revised tax bill that will reflect their 2012 homestead rebate. So that's good news. And then finally, and there'll be a lot more talk next week on my part, or the next meeting rather, the budget hearing is scheduled for the April 13th council meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Health, Mr. Wolkowitz.
Thank you, Mayor. As I've mentioned in previous reports, the recent outbreak of measles has brought attention to the number of children who are not routinely inoculated. One of the reasons this is happening in the state of New Jersey is because we have a very liberal policy for refusing an inoculation for religious reasons. Religious exemptions have soared in the state since 2007, the year before the criteria for religious exemptions were relaxed. There were 1,400 exemptions granted in 2007 and 9,000 in 2014. Currently, mentioning religion as a reason for refusing an inoculation is generally sufficient. State Senators Loretta Weinberg and Joseph Vitale are sponsoring a bill tightening the requirements for religions. Quote liberally from their bill. The bill would require that a letter explaining the parent or guardian's religious tenet or practice that is implicated by the vaccination and how the vaccination would violate, contradict, or otherwise be inconsistent with the tenet or practice. The bill would also require that the letter be notarized and to include a statement that the parent or guardian understands the risks and benefits of vaccination. Needless to say, our health department's following this legislation with a great deal of interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First on the Public Works, the road crew continues to patch the numerous potholes around town. The mayor and I actually had an opportunity last week to observe the team in action. The staff is also out working on the playing fields in anticipation of opening the spring seasons across a variety of sports. And from the engineering department, this week the Ridgedale Avenue plans and specs will be finalized and the bid advertisements sent to the newspapers. The Waverly Place parking lot plans and bid documents are almost complete. We anticipate advertisement of those bids in April. Field survey work in preparation for the 2015 road reconstruction projects will begin next week. Residents on Lewanika Terrace, Crescent Ave, Kinney Street, West Street, Cross Street, and Cottage Place may notice surveyors on their roads. For sanitary sewer, the contracts for NTEC have been received and pre-construction meetings will be scheduled with the contractor this week. We anticipate that the sewer lining work will begin in April. The project will affect the easement areas on Shady Lawn, Danforth, Rose, and Park, but should only require about 2 weeks to complete. The contractor and material vendor quotes are being assembled for the drainage and turf replacement on the Memorial Park sports fields and skating rink. Quotes will be sent to potential contractors and suppliers within the next 2 weeks. This evening, we'll be voting on the introduction of an ordinance to cover the project from the Open Space Trust Fund. And from the library, the bid for the HVAC system replacement, ceiling, and lighting repairs were advertised on March 12th. A pre-bid meeting will take place on Tuesday, April 7th in the Chase Room. And one other thing I forgot to add to my written report from Complete Streets a week ago. Last week got significant work done at Main Street and Cross Street / Rosedale Avenue intersection. Pedestrian signals were added to all 4 corners. ADA compliant motion sensors were added to all 4 corners. 2 overhead traffic lights were replaced. Old cabling was replaced, and the traffic cabinet was updated to include software. They expected to then be working on the Main Street and Prospect Street / Greenwood Avenue intersection. Again, most of the same replacements, and in addition to that, there will be new overhead traffic heads on Prospect and Greenwood that will have green arrows, and there'll be a new light stanchion on the northwest corner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any communications or petitions?
None received, Mayor.
Okay, this is our first of 2 invitations for discussion. This one is limited to items on the agenda discussions or resolutions that are listed on the consent agenda. Ordinances will have a hearing. That's when you can comment on those, or our later period, you can comment on anything. Right. Tonight's agenda discussions include appropriation of $10,000 for professional services and for restoration and renovation East Wing of Hartley Dodge. Appropriation of $75,000 also from open space for resurfacing and repair of skating rink and playing fields at Memorial Park. Amending Chapter 166 of the Borough Code regarding sidewalk reimbursement. Appropriation of $150,000 from General Capital Fund for 2015 sewer lining improvements, and appropriation of $663,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2015 milling and overlay projects. So you can comment on those items, or again, items on the resolution consent agenda. Anyone wishing to comment on those, please step forward and state your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and also make a point as to which of these items you're commenting on. Dave.
Dave Luber, 7 Lawrence Road, and commenting on item 13, the appropriation of $10,000. I serve as treasurer of the Madison Historical Society. As many of you are aware, the Society has been long interested in creating a public museum for the display of our collection of historic local artifacts, most of which are currently housed in commercial storage. For the past 5 years, we have pursued the establishment of a museum in an unoccupied portion of the Madison train station, as first suggested to us by former mayor and society member Mariana Holden. Although New Jersey Transit was supportive of the application process from the beginning, other governmental bodies were not so accommodating, and we formally abandoned the effort in January of this year. The Society is therefore very excited about the proposed renovation of the East Wing of this building and its potential use as a home for our collection. We strongly support the borough's planned grant application to the Morris County Historic Preservation Trust Fund program for grant assistance for professional services, and urge you to view the enabling $10,000 appropriation ordinance favorably. The Madison Historical Society looks forward to partnering with the borough and the county in the renovation project. We believe that a renovated East Wing would provide the ideal place for the entire community to enjoy our permanent collection.
Thank you, David.
Hello, I'm Susan Simon. I live at on Spring Garden Drive. I'm a trustee and past president of the Madison Historical Society. The Madison Historical Society has been looking for a space for a museum for 5 years. We are extremely happy to be given the opportunity to work with the borough in renovating and then occupying the first floor of the east wing of the Hartley Dodge Memorial Building. It will give us the room and flexibility of hours that we will need for the museum. It will also help us in our outreach programs with the schools in educating Madison students on the rich history of Madison. The Society has in storage a beautiful linen press, which is a linen cabinet, that was built by Caleb Burrows in 1835 at his business located on Main Street of making furniture combined with his funeral home, which is still in existence today. We have a rocking chair that once belonged to Anna Maria Britton, made between 1830 and 1840. We have a document written and signed by 124 of the citizens of Madison in the 1840s, asking William Gibbons to establish a boarding house in the village. You would recognize the names as streets and houses in the borough are named after them. Albright, Sayer, Britton, Miller, Burnett, Janung, Bruin, Sampson, etc. That's just a few. These are just 3 of the many artifacts in our collection that the citizens of Madison will be able to see once the museum is open. So we strongly support the resolution for the $10,000.
Thank you, Susan. Tom, welcome.
First, would like to thank you all for recognizing the accomplishments of the Madison High School youth, the hockey team, and the fact that you consider their successes a part of the community's success says a lot, hopefully, to a lot of the residents. They'll hear how we're all working together, and you know, we need them to do the right thing while we all do the right thing for the borough and the schools. So thanks very much for that. And I also would like to give a thank you to those people who helped to secure a $75,000 grant, although I know you didn't vote on it yet, but hopefully it will be a positive vote. I might not stick around for that because I have to leave early, but hopefully I will hear good news. Because I'd like to just acknowledge the fact that Councilwoman Bailey, Mr. Burnett, Mr. Vogel, and the Open Space Committee, all, after reviewing the benefits that we would get from renovating the Rosedale skating rink and bringing it up to an exemplary grass turf surface, we will really be helping the youth sports programs in the community. We stand to lose a field after the Green Village Road property is sold or the sale is finalized, maybe by the end of this year, and then you would have a void in town without a lit field where the younger kids can practice. So, and the money, I think the money's being going to be put to good use there. And then the skating boys will also be able to use the place in the winter and hopefully continue to have some strong programs. So thanks very much for that, and hopefully your vote goes in that positive direction.
Thank you, Tom. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Seeing none, close this part of the meeting, and we go on to agenda discussions. Number 1, appropriation of $10,000 for professional services, restoration, and renovation, east wing of Hartley Dodge. Ostry?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is the first step in the renovation. First, we've got to get the professional services. Then the next step would be to go back to the county to ask for help on the renovation. We have partnerships with the Madison Historical Society and the Hartley Dodge Memorial Foundation, and the Open Space Committee reviewed this application, and we unanimously approved this grant request to bring to the council tonight. We think it's definitely, time to get this building finished. So we're asking for your approval tonight for the $10,000, and then the county grant will be submitted, and we have a good chance of receiving that money for this project. In the past, the county has supported the renovation of this building.
Comments or questions? Bob and then Ben?
Astrid, at this point, do we have any idea of what the final cost will be?
Bob Vogel is here. Yes.
Step up to the microphone, please, sir. Sorry. Sir.
I had to get you up. I couldn't let you sit.
Gotta give him a wireless mic.
Based on the square foot costs of the building and nothing more at this stage of the game, it looks as though the 5,000 square feet could be rehabilitated for approximately $750,000. A significant amount of money. We would, the benefit of applying to the county for professional services at this point is it engages them in the project.
Right.
And when we go for the construction round, which again is a separate and subsequent application next spring, the county, we have a better shot at additional funding from the county for the actual construction services.
Gotcha.
And again, their match tends to be almost 80%, so it would be a huge win for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Ben?
Astrid, it was made mention that this would complete the entire renovation. Is that correct? There'd be nothing left?
Bob, do you want, he asked if this was a total renovation. I'm not sure about, I know there'll be an elevator, but will the basement be completely renovated?
The 5,000 square feet that was identified in the Holt Morgan Russell plans as storage, because of economic reasons, we took a component of the east wing out of those original renovation drawings. And that area that remains as storage, and which is essentially just demolished in the lower east wing, it's not really occupied by anyone and shouldn't be at this stage of the game because it needs lighting, electricity, HVAC.
Bob, are you talking about the courtroom section, or are you talking about the basement section?
There's 2 floors involved.
Right. So the
2,500
2 floors will be completely renovated with this request?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, that's the answer. Thank you, Bob.
Ask him to stay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think he was for, I'll yield to Pat.
go ahead, Pat, and then Rob.
I think somebody asked, is that going to include ADA compliance, i.e., are we going to put an elevator in, and will be covered by the $750,000?
What we've done in the requests for proposals for the architects and the design work is to have them give us 3 options. And presumably, we'd pick the most cost-effective one of those 3. Some type of elevator, stair climber, lift, some type will be necessary for the first floor, not the ground floor, then the first floor of the east wing, in order to bring the 5,000 square foot into full compliance.
Yeah, the original discussions were around a LULA, limited use, limited access elevator. Right.
So hopefully it's a less expensive elevator than the 7-stop elevator that we put in during the general renovations to this building. It will be, as a matter of fact.
And we don't anticipate any asbestos problems? Does that $750,000 include asbestos?
Difficult to say at this stage. I would say that the 750 in my mind would include it. And the reason I say that is because I believe we can do a limited remediation of areas where the ceiling penetrations, where the air handling equipment would be necessary, where the lighting would be necessary. I believe we can do a limited remediation, not a full, entire remediation of the building in conjunction with the project.
And the follow-on question is, if we can't, what is the
If
total
we can't,
cost?
we'll have to take a look at the pricing. And hopefully,
Order of magnitude, double, triple, 1.5? What do you think? What's your gut feeling?
without real numbers from the asbestos consultant, I'm not sure I can really venture a guess on that. I would say probably triple the 100,000 that we've kind of factored in.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
And that's part of the reason to do the engineering is to,
Paul, Rob?
Yep.
Right.
Carmela?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about it because the East Wing and us not doing it years ago was monetary, but it's just something that really should be. And this complete building should be opened up to everybody. And it's my understanding that we have a partnership with Madison, and I think we should talk about that a little bit, because when you start talking about money, you have a partner here that will be able to help. Am I correct? Yeah, okay. So I think that's a very important factor. And as Larry Tabor used to talk about this building, it was Mrs. Dodge's wish that this became a museum, so she's getting her wish, halfway anyway. But, you know, I think it's just, it's a very great project to be involved with.
Well, I mean, you're correct, Carmela, and one of the reasons, again, for, I believe, deleting it as part of the original project was we really didn't have a partner or a
Right.
tenant or a program for that space at that point in time, so it wasn't
Now we
just
do.
economic. I mean, we were looking for occupants at that stage as well, so it's a really good fit.
All right, any other comments? So we have introduction of ordinance 13 tonight for that. Okay, number 2, appropriation of $75,000 for resurfacing and repair of the skating rink and playing fields at Memorial Park. Ostry.
Certainly looks like I like to spend money. Okay. This is, you heard from Tom Harlan-Putis, and I mean, he did speak about the need to upgrade the skating rink as well as the playing fields. The soccer program for the younger kids, there are about 340 children who are involved. They're going to lose space at Green Village Road when that becomes developed. We need to upgrade this. This would be the year to do it because Zach, our recreation director, can juggle the schedule to allow kids to play, practice and play games, and we can rest this field in, this year, which is really, really important. This is one of the problems we have is that, you know, if we don't rest the fields, we're never going to get good fields. So we feel that this is the Open Space Committee felt this was a good use of the money, of open space money, to resurface and repair the skating rink, playing fields. And the timing is perfect, is really great to do this, and we ask that the council support it.
Bob?
Yeah, I agree. Back when I started the Bailey Ellard project, I read a study that said that even with that field renovated, and the bottom line is all the fields need to be rested. And if we're going to lose Green Village, which we will eventually, we lose that flexibility. If you're going to have grass fields, you have to do it right. You have to maintain them, and this is one way to do it. You have to rotate the fields. I know that Zach has talked about this for a long time. All the athletic programs have talked about it, that we need the good fields. This is the perfect opportunity to do it.
Carmela and then Pat.
Astrid, can I just ask you a question? Tom kind of said something about maybe the ice hockey team being able to use it. I was having a conversation, I believe, with David Maines, and he was talking about how it's going to be dug out and dug down, so there isn't much water that's going to go on that rink.
Well,
now,
it's going to be
safer.
It's going to be less. It's not going to be that much less water, but it's going to be even. It's going to be drained properly, and the surface is going to be better. We just found. I mean, after we approved. Well, actually, we didn't. I mean, we had DPW send a man down there to fix and the field. Now, the playing surface has gotten better through the winter, but this will even be better without, you know, spots of real depth and shallowness.
Yeah, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, having coached kids here, I can attest to that as the absolute worst grass field in this community that we play on. So if we're going to rehabilitate a field, it's the place to start. I think they are going to do some leveling so that there won't be quite as much pitch. And I believe the ice hockey group is also going to purchase some sort of liner that they can put down in the winter, or they'd like to, so that it would hopefully preserve the grass a little better.
Well, that was discussed with the consultant, and he said it wasn't necessary, and that it's not going to affect the grass to have. I mean, it's not going to protect the grass to have the line.
Okay, because the one thing I am concerned about with ice hockey is that we're going to invest a lot of money in the grass, and we want to make sure that after, I mean, this field's going to get rested through the winter, I guess, or they may, are they going to play on it next winter?
Here's the thing, the grass has to establish itself.
Yes.
And it has to have several cuttings in order to establish itself. So the timing would be the work would be done in August
August.
with the drains
Mhm.
and get the seed down and establish it with a few cuttings this fall. Then it's rested all spring. That's all that grass needs. And then you can fill the ice skating rink and the grass will come back.
So they're not going to plan to use the ice skating rink next winter?
I think we can use the ice skating rink
It's
next
it's
winter.
just the grass
It's
that
resting
gets.
the grass
Okay.
from,
Well, we'll have to
those
see how it
little
works out, because
Yeah.
that's the
No,
one
no,
concern I
we'll-
still have about that. But I
Right.
think it is an important project to look at. It is a terrible field, and it has lights, so it would be a great replacement for GVR, which also has actually minimal lighting. This actually has
That's
decent
correct.
lighting for practice. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want to play a game there, but, and it's more of a regulation size field, so it could be used either for small kids, small-sided field, or for a large-sided
right.
game.
If we don't fix it, these kids will only get to have a game. They'll never get to practice.
So we have, it's ordinance 14, which is listed for introduction. All right, next three items are Bob Vogel. So amend Chapter 166 Borough Code regarding sidewalk reimbursement.
Okay, so as far as sidewalk reimbursement is concerned, everyone knows the conditions throughout town. There's quite a few 100 feet of sidewalks which are in very marginal condition. Last summer, we had sent some of our summer assistants out and taken a survey throughout town and had essentially identified, about $50,000 worth of sidewalks that needed to be replaced as soon as possible. In conjunction with that capital work that the town is taking on, we'd also like to increase the incentive for a private resident to do their work on their own part. And so this ordinance, the sidewalk reimbursement ordinance, has been in place since 1988. The percentage match and the rate at $15 per square yard of concrete hasn't been changed in that period of time. And so it's high time that we did update that incentive for private residents to go out and do some of their own sidewalk reconstruction work, as the obligation also exists in the ordinance to do that. And so, I thought if we're going to really step up the town's efforts to replace sidewalks, that it would make sense to do a tandem effort. And Carmela also has promoted this as a resident incentive. And so that's the nature of the agenda rec in front of you tonight.
And you're, you note it's basically delivered and put in place about $100 per square yard for residents, so this covers about 25%.
That's correct.
And you said 88 was the initial,
That was when the ordinance was written
so
initially. and I don't know
I'm
that we've
I'm
updated
guessing
it.
the $15 at that point was probably more than 25%, so this is a little catch-up, but not probably where we were before.
It's unfortunate because most of the residents that come and want to do 100 feet of the front of their property and do a nice job replacing it barely get the reimbursement money to cover the cost of the permits. And so we'd like to go a little bit further for them in terms of motivating partnership to get those sidewalks replaced.
Any other comments or questions for Bob? Bob?
Talk about residents. Does this also include commercial?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
What do we charge for the permit, Bob?
It depends on the road condition, if the road's going to be affected, but generally the permit costs run from $100 to $300, plus there is a deposit, which is returned after the inspection is made, and so down payments all in on the permit initially could be as high as $500, and that's barely the amount of the entire reimbursement. They would get, $100 or $200 back on the deposit, but the fee would not come back to them, and it's at least $100.
Have we thought about dropping the fee? I mean, that's one of those things where it's actually in the public interest to have the person redo the sidewalk, and it actually benefits us as much as it benefits the homeowner.
It's a good thought.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to take a look at that, and especially since Pat's the liaison, so you'll follow through with that?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so that's ordinance 16, which is listed for introduction. Appropriation of $150,000, General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2015 sewer lining improvements.
Also in the packets, is a agenda recommendation for continuing the sewer lining projects that we have continued last year. Last year, the $150,000 appropriation covered Shady Lawn to Danforth easement and Pine to Park easement. This year, we'd like to do 3 additional easements, Rose to Pine, East Street, and Seven Oaks. Last year's project hasn't been completed yet this year. However, we do have a contract with Entech, and they had indicated that they would be mobilizing and hopefully completing their work within 2 weeks in April. And so we'll be done with that money, and it'll be time. Unfortunately, we waited until towards the end of the last year to appropriate, and I was hoping that, you know, if we got to appropriating earlier in the season this year, we could get the additional sewer lining done work in more timely fashion over the summer as well.
Okay, any questions for Ben?
Have there been studies to determine if lining is cost-effective relative to replacing?
I'm sure there have. I can't lay my hands on that particular study, Ben. However, you know, just in general, pulling a pipe out of the ground that's 6 or 8 feet generally deep, and replacing it is going to be at least $100 a foot, and Entech's last price to us was $35. And so it's far more cost efficient, and I believe the product, certainly the ones that Entech has been putting online in the North Street Sewer Service area, have been holding up very well, and it's expected that you get at least the pipe length of the original product. So, I mean, yeah, on face value, it certainly seems like a very cost-effective way to move forward, and we'd like to do a little bit of water lining this year as well.
But we're really not sure how long they last, right?
Again, I can lay my hands on the study.
I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
When did we start doing sewer lining?
We started, our first project was a $500,000 project in the North Street Sewer Service area.
What year?
That was about 2005, Austri.
And we haven't had any problems with it?
No, not at all. No, it's held up very well. One of the things that some of the consultants are coming up with is that the services also need to be lined for a couple of feet off of the main. It's kind of a technical issue, but there are additions which some drive up the price of the product, which some consultants are recommending moving forward, and we can take a look at that as time goes by. But again, the sewer main lining's been holding up very well, and the product that Entech gives us is very cost-effective as far as I can tell.
Okay, so that's ordinance 17 listed for an introduction. And last one, appropriation of $663,000 from General Capital Improvement Fund for the 2015 milling and overlay projects.
So the mill and overlay projects that were identified in the 5-year capital improvement plan, which we looked at in the 2015 budget, are identified, and there are 6 roads initially that we had identified as part of the mill and overlay project. What we also did with the mill and overlay program this year was add the budgetary items for signage, striping, curbing, sidewalk, and crack sealing, which again are more maintenance-oriented activities, which we used to either get operating or special appropriation for. We thought it would be advantageous to us to include those additional maintenance-type projects in the general ordinance so that we can complete or at least initiate all those projects as soon as possible, also in conjunction with the road reconstruction program to be done on Ridgedale Avenue this summer.
Okay, any questions, Ben?
If I recall correctly, there were 5 of those roads were originally 2016 up to this year. Is that correct?
The one road that I saw in this year's 5-year capital improvement program that got moved up was Fox Chase because it's directly adjacent to Candlewood. If the entire block got moved up, that would surprise me, Ben. Certainly it's possible. I think, you know, as we refine the 5-year capital plan, the adjacencies and the conditions of the roads become more apparent as you're as you're doing it on an annualized basis. And so, no, I don't think all the roads had gotten moved up. I believe one or two, because of the adjacency issue, did get moved up. It just made more practical sense for us to do it that way.
And the Florham Park section of Danforth, will we, have any conversations on doing that and getting reimbursed, or are we just going to let them come back and do their part, or what? Because I know you mentioned last time they felt it was done, but I think Pat can attest to the fact that no, Florham Park is not done.
Again, the issue is where Florham Park feels the municipal line actually is located and where we feel the municipal line is actually located. And short of getting a surveyor involved in the issue, Florham Park shipped me a set of their own tax map documents where they established the borough line. And to me, they have a case for having the area that they've milled and overlaid at present, closest to the signal, stay as is. I mean, it makes no sense for us to not mill and overlay that section. I think we should move forward with it and establish our own price and request reimbursement from Florham Park. However, I don't think it's going to be certainly it's going to be a minor part of the overall project. And so, I can certainly contact Mike Scaramella, and actually have in the past on that issue. But I think he's going to want to see the brass tacks on the municipal line location before he rolls over on reimbursement. And so, yeah, it gets fairly technical, and I'm not sure it's worth the argument, quite honestly.
Yeah, probably not, but I think minimally for liability purposes, we would need to get permission to touch the road, so we should figure out where it is, and even if we go ahead and ask for reimbursement, let's make sure we have permission so there's acknowledgement that we're doing part of their road.
Done.
Either that or toll booths going in.
I have to get to my own house and pay. So let's go around the corner.
All right, any other questions on this one? So this is ordinance 18 listed for introduction. All ordinances for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said ordinances by title.
Ordinance 9, 2015, calendar year 2015 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
I open the hearing for ordinance 9, 2015. Anyone wishing to comment on this ordinance, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 9-2015.
I second it.
Council discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalanello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 9, 2015 adopted and finally passed, and I ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law.
Ordinance 10, 2015 is an ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $110,000 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund for restoration and repair of the James Library Building.
I open the hearing for ordinance 10, 2015. Anyone wishing to comment on this ordinance, please step forward. Tom?
I'm Thomas Judd. I'm chairman of the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts. I was here 2 weeks ago, and I believe there were some questions, perhaps some lack of understanding. I'd like to just briefly comment on a few of the items that we felt were left open last time. First, let me say that stewardship of the building has always been a part of the museum's culture. And since at least 2010, it's been an explicit part of our strategic plan. So we take our care of the building very seriously. The partnership between the museum and the town is basically governed by the lease, which was last renegotiated in 2010. The pertinent thing there is it requires the establishment of the James Library Building Fund, which has been done. It doesn't have as much money in it as we like, but there is a fund, and there has been for a number of years. The funds to be used for major repairs, minor repairs, aggregating over $10,000 a year, and it does not preclude the use for minor repairs. It also requires landlord consent and submission of plans, followed by regular inspections by the building inspectors, and that has been done throughout the project last year. We've started it this year, and we will continue to do that. We work with Mr. Vogel, Mr. Cody, presenting the drawings and working with the inspectors. So it's a very tight relationship for any of these major projects. Let me mention the specific project that we've asked for this year. This one is a little different. I told you last time this is a multi-year project, and each of them is basically independent. This year's, because of the damage to those tower finials that I showed you pictures of last time, this one is very critical. We have an imminent danger situation there according to the structural engineers. So this year it's really critical that we go ahead and at least get that part of it done. On a project like this, the museum assumes project oversight. We do not ask the borough to manage the projects. The museum has brought about $300,000 to the table from the county. That is what the lease calls an entity contribution to the building fund. The borough's been asked to contribute $110,000, which would be the landlord's contribution as provided in the lease. I note that we're asking for money from earmarked funds, not capital expenditure. The museum this year has contributed significant personnel time, both paid personnel and volunteer. We have not had the wherewithal to give a lot of cash to this particular project. But let me expand a little bit on what we do. Of our paid staff, we estimate about 1/3 of the executive director's time is spent on the building. And that's not just this project, this is ongoing maintenance. As I'm sure you're aware, with an old building, there's always something that needs to be taken care of. Our operations chairman, the business manager, who also acts as our operations manager for the building, spends about 25% of her time. And we've estimated that on the paid staff alone, this is something in excess of $30,000 a year of museum funds that we're expending to take care of the building. Of the trustees, I spend about 1/4 of my time on building-related issues. Our operations chairman spends 100%. That is his charge of managing the building. And we also have significant effort from our finance committee to handle the monies involved. Going forward from this year, we definitely recognize that we need to get more people, more players in the game, if you will, reaching out to the public. What we have done, we are now conducting a capital campaign feasibility study for the building fund. We've contracted with Rutolo Associates, a professional firm. Work started in earnest in the fall of last year. The implementation of the study has begun. It will involve individual interviews, focus groups, and hopefully an electronic survey. What we expect from that is a summary and recommendations by the end of May from Rutolo, basically telling us where we stand on this. Are we in a position to start a campaign now, or if not, what do we need to do to get in that position? We're looking for long-range contributors to the building fund going forward. But as I said, this year is particularly critical, and I ask that the council do approve the $110,000 appropriation that is so badly needed right now. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Tommy. I waive, for the record, I waive the 3-minute limit because you were answering questions that were posed by this council, so I appreciate you taking the time to do that. While we have Tom there, any questions for him? Even if it's not a normal part of the hearing? Okay. Thank you, Tom. Anyone else wishing to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 10-2015.
I'll second.
Council discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalanello?
No.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 10-2015 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law.
Ordinance 11-2015, ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $12,000 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund for reforestation at the Madison Recreation Complex.
I open the hearing for ordinance 11-2015. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 11-2015.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Catalinello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Miss Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 11, 2015 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law.
Mayor, due to an error in the publishing of the Madison Eagle, ordinance 12 will have to have a hearing the next council meeting.
Right?
Side note.
And now we're on to our second invitation for discussion, and this is when you may comment on anything. Please step forward, state your name, your address, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Anyone wishing to comment? Seeing none, I close this part of the hearing, or this agenda item. We move on to introduction of ordinances. Can the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for April the 13th, 2015. All will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public requesting copies.
I call up ordinances for first reading and ask the Borough Clerk to read said ordinances by title.
Ordinance 13, 2015, an ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $10,000 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund for professional services for the restoration and renovation of the east wing of the Hartley Dodge Memorial Building.
Mayor, I move ordinance 13-2015.
I'll second.
Any further council discussion? Rob?
Thank you. I think it's a good idea to spend this money and engage the county. My only concern going forward, so there are no surprises going forward, is that, this is an expensive project, and when I look back over the history of our building projects, I just think it's important that we identify the sources of funding that we're going to use to spend $750,000 or $1 million for the East Wing. Right? I'm not saying I'm against it, but I think it's important that we do that. And then once we clearly identify it, we have to stick to it. The strategic, planning committee came back with a whole laundry list of capital expenditures to be done. They also came back with guidelines on how much we should spend for parks, roads, et cetera, and, so if this isn't going to be fully covered, and we're going to have to increase taxes or increase the drawdown on certain surpluses or lower services to pay for it, I think we need to know it up front so that we can discuss it and we have a plan going forward. So I will vote yes for this, but again, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to vote yes going down if we can't clearly identify how we're going to pay for it and at least try to fit it into the buckets that were given to us by the Strategic Planning Committee to make sure it all works.
Yep.
So
And I
thank you,
think
Mayor.
that's very good points, and that this engineering is very important to get us set for, this is eligible as historic preservation funding, and also as part of our open space to leverage those funds to get more bang for the buck. Any other comments? Roll call vote?
Mr. Catalinello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Miss Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 14, 2015.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $75,000 from the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund to resurface and repair the skating rink and playing fields at Memorial Park.
Mayor, I move ordinance 14-2015.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Catalinello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Miss Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 15, 2015.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison replacing Ordinance 1, 2014 pertaining to part-time, non-union salaries and offices.
Mayor, I move ordinance 15-2015.
I second it.
Council discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Catalinello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Miss Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ordinance 16, 2015.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Chapter 166 of the Borough Code entitled Streets and Sidewalks to amend the sidewalk reimbursement program.
Mr. Mayor, I move ordinance 16-2015.
A second?
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalonello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ordinance 17, 2015.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $150,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for sewer lining improvements.
Mr. Mayor, I move ordinance 17-2015.
I second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalonello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ordinance 18, 2015.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $663,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the milling and overlay of various streets.
Mr. Mayor, I move ordinance 18-2015.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalonello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
And will the clerk read the statement related to the consent agenda resolutions?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move R 99 through R 107.
I second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Okay, roll call vote.
Catalonello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
There's no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers.
Public safety, $36,138.71. Health and public assistance, $6,900. Public works and engineering, $169,212.87. Community affairs, $18,831.94. Finance and Borough Clerk, $173,431.95. Utilities, $769,327.97. Total is $1,173,843.44.
Mayor, I move the vouchers.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Catalonello?
Yes.
Mr. Landrigan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolkowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
And there is no new business.
With that, I move that we adjourn for the evening.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Here we go. Well done.
There you have it.
Hey, Ray.
At 9:30.
There was that other entity that wanted to hook into the phone lines.
I still have a question.
So he called me, Tony Zarilla's firm, and I spoke to him. And he said,